Что там, наркотики в чемодане?
Like,
Чё пялитесь?
this is my 25th hour on planes and airports.
Я бы украл все тарелки.
Airbus A380.
Но все равно мне сильно
Well.
страшно это. Здравствуйте, ребята, я Бенджамин, я из Лондона.
And I'm Katey from Novosibirsk.
И мы оба преподаватели английского языка здесь, в Бегапуску, в Новосибирске. Мы сегодня будем обсуждать тему авиация. Давайте начнем.
So, Benjamin, tell me, are you scared of flying or are you an aviation lover?
Я любитель авиации. Я в свободное время я играл в Flight Simulator.
Airborne.
Ты знаешь, что такое Flight Simulator? Это требует очень мощный компьютер, и это не игра.
So that's why you bought a new PC.
Да, я купил
It is all clear now.
новый компьютер. Очень дорого, но
How did it
накопил
start?
деньги.
How did this interest in aviation start? We're always like that. Well, I don't want to sound, you know.
Я родился в Бразилии, и у меня семья в Англии и в США. И с малого возраста я летал в разные страны.
Почему он? Почему не ты, Сава? Почему именно он?
У меня только хорошие воспоминания про самолеты. Я люблю самолеты.
So it started in, you know, when you were a baby, basically.
Да.
So you started to
Да.
love the airplanes and everything.
Мой первый рейс был месяцев 6 был.
Oh, but
И-
obviously you can't remember any of that, right?
Не помню, ничего не помню, но мои родители дали мне чуть-чуть вина в молоко. Они как добавили каплю.
Debatable parenting
Вина.
advice, do not
Ну,
follow.
для самолета обязательно, да. Это не принято летать с детьми, которые кричат.
For the next 5 hours, you're my bitch. Where? My ears are popping and there's no way to console me.
Your parents had very debatable parenting techniques. I should say that.
Они молодцы были в этом плане, да. Но это не было много вина, просто капли.
На донышке, я же сказала, на донышке.
Просто капли. И всё,
Have you ever
засыпал.
wanted to be a pilot?
Да, сильно хотел, но, к сожалению, у меня были проблемы медицинские, когда я был подросток. Так, к сожалению, нет. Ну, я люблю
But that's why
быть...
we are happy to have a nice English
Да.
teacher over here.
Это не проблема,
know.
я люблю быть преподавателем
Okay.
английского языка. Все равно мой хобби — это Flight Simulator. И, если честно, может быть лучше. Быть летчиком — это сильно тяжелая ответственность.
I will have to correct you right
Да.
here, Benjamin. Mind that. We'd
Да.
say pilot.
Пилот.
This is
летчик
military. Yeah,
военный,
military aviation. So in
Pilot,
Russian we
да.
have this, you know, little difference. So yeah.
Пилот, летчик.
It's actually fun that we are discussing this topic together because I am a huge fan of aviation. I'm not as, no offense, Benjamin, but not as nerdy as
Я
Benjamin about it.
ботаник по авиации, да.
So, but my family was in aviation. So the thing is that my uncle is a pilot. My other uncle,
Круто.
my aunt, and my dad all used to work in aviation in the airport, you know.
Отец, он работает с багажами, да, с чемоданами.
Absolutely,
Да.
yes. My aunt, I think she's an economist or something, or an accountant, and my other uncle, she was actually the head of the airport. So, yeah,
Так в твоей крови.
exactly. And the
Aviация.
thing is that, you know, that I was growing up in a very small town in Yakutsk. Since it's a small town, you would hear absolutely every plane, you know, taking off and flying over, you know, your house, because since it's small, it doesn't take, you know,
И
much
там очень
space.
старые русские, советские самолеты. С очень шумными
That's a
двигателями.
misconception. I mean, it used to be like that.
Да.
Now, of course, we have all those nice Boeings and everything. Sukhoi, that's a common
Да, это новый,
airplane.
да, сухой суперджет, да,
But you
очень
can-
тихий и...
Well, you can imagine back in the day with those engines, as you said, it was very funny. You just imagine this picture, you know, picture it in your head. We were sitting having dinner, and you would hear a plane, you know, just taking off, flying over, and my dad would look out the mirror and like, oh, that's the flight to Moscow.
Сразу узнал.
A little bit late, 5 minutes late today. So it was just, just a relevant part of my life. Yeah, so to hear about the planes, to...
Так у него в голове был Flight Radar, это приложение. Ты пользуешь этим приложением?
Not really. When I was flying back from the US to Russia, my dad would always, check my flights on Flight Radar to see that I landed safely, that I took off and everything. That was so sweet, yeah. So here we are, two aviation lovers to different extent, but still.
Так, Катя, какой был у тебя самый длинный рейс в твоей жизни?
I think the longest flight I've had was from Russia to the US, which was 11 hours.
А где была пересадка?
So just so you know, we usually would call that,
да.
So in English we'd call that a stopover or a layover. Well, since it was my longest flight, so that was from Moscow to New York City or from New York City to Moscow, since I was going, there
Сколько
and
по
back.
времени из Москвы?
11 hours.
11 hours. Да.
But actually, I still remember my very first time when I was going to the US, because with all the layovers, connecting flights and everything, it was 35 hours. So, and my route was Novosibirsk, Moscow.
А где ты спала? Ты спала прям на полу?
No, well, so my flight was Novosibirsk, St. Petersburg. In St. Petersburg, I had an 8-hour layover, and my friend, who's also a Fulbrighter, who was living not next to the airport, but not far, they said, we're going to pick you up so you can spend a couple of hours with us, because then we were flying together.
Это аэропорт Пулково, да?
Exactly. So, and after that, it was St. Petersburg, Amsterdam, and Amsterdam, Minneapolis in Minnesota, and then Minneapolis, Fayetteville, Arkansas. So my first point was Arkansas, which usually people ask a question why about. But that was my longest flight. What about yours?
Как я сказал раньше, я родился в Бразилии. Это, естественно, очень длинный рейс из города Сан-Паулу в Лондон. Это 11,5 часов.
11.5 hours. And just a quick note. So these long flights, like 9, 10, 11 hours, we can call them long-haul flights.
Дальномагистральные рейсы, да?
I think there is some sort of a different word in Russian, but yeah. And on the opposite, on the contrary, we can have short-haul flights. All those 3-4 hours, the usual thing. So, but Benjamin, I have a question. How do you usually keep yourself entertained during long-haul flights? Because it's 11 hours, 10 hours, 9 hours. What do you do?
Мне не сложно засыпать на самолетах. Это сложно для многих. Я знаю, что...
That's a whole skill you have over here.
Я знаю,
I'm a
что
bit
многие
jealous.
пользуются таблетками, чтобы засыпать. Это, вредно, но работает.
В конце концов, хуже уже не будет.
So what do you usually do? So you just sleep?
Я читал книги, сплю, и я очень люблю садиться рядом с люстром, чтобы все посмотреть.
Иллюминатор.
Не люстром, это... Спасибо.
Well, I do not know what kind of planes you're flying,
Шикарные самолеты. Да, иллюминатор, конечно. Очень похожие мне слова.
So yeah, in English we'd call it window seat, and then we have a middle seat, and an aisle seat next to the aisle. So does that mean you're more of a window seat person?
Конечно. К счастью, я не сильно высокий человек, так это меня не проблема. Если вы высокий, обязательно садиться рядом с проходом.
So you can kind of move your legs to the aisle.
Да. И также зависит от авиакомпании. Может быть, что есть in-flight entertainment, развлечения на экранах. Для коротких рейсов это не всегда возможно. Я знал, что в США есть JetBlue, я знал, это не реклама для JetBlue, но есть как телевизоры на спинке кресла. Тогда может усмотреть фильмы.
It's a common practice. It's a common practice on a lot of planes. Yeah, that's true.
И обязательно с собой нести подушку, чтобы засыпать.
I actually have a story about that. So the thing is that when I'm taking a long-haul flight, and I used to take them, from time to time, coming from Russia to the US, from the US to Russia, I would always travel with a pillow. but not the traveling pillow. Like, you would imagine this little one. No.
А не диванная подушка, прям как для постели, для кровати.
Well, yeah, not like the couch one, but yeah, but a real pillow, I cannot really show, but it's like, what is it? 70 to 20 centimeters, something like that. So just, a legit pillow with a pillowcase.
С перами? Или с пеной?
No, I think it's not the feathers. Anywho, so you can imagine how some people looked at me like, and I remember on my last flight from Moscow to Novosibirsk, by that time I had been in planes and in airports and on planes for more than 20 hours already. And I was with that pillow, huge pillow. People just look at me like, like pillow?
Что делаешь с подушкой? Да?
Yeah, like why do you have a pillow? And I was just so tempted to say like, this is my 25th hour on planes and airports, so please shut up! Not allowed to swear.
Как я спросил раньше, ты спала на полу?
No.
Вот ты спала у твоей подруги, да?
Yeah, well, it wasn't really sleeping. I just had, some rest, just, trying to doze off, but couldn't. So, yeah, I usually sleep on a plane, just like you, but I have a very specific set of things I usually take with me.
Whisky?
Oh, no.
Нельзя с собой нести алкоголь или жидкости?
Well, airlines got you covered on transatlantic flights.
Да.
So when I was flying again from the US to the US, especially with Aeroflot, so first of all, they offer you wine, which kind of makes your flight way more enjoyable. But apart from that, I always had with me a pair of nice, thick socks so that I wouldn't have to be wearing my sneakers for those 11 hours because the pressure in the air is higher. So
И в туалете
of course I would change.
носила носки, там
No,
пол грязный.
ew, no.
Я люблю самолеты, но у меня мне сильно страшно, да. В туалете там смыв очень громко. Я всегда открою дверь перед тем, как я выйду из туалета на самолет. И потом нажимаю
Interesting
смыв.
strategy, but
Да.
okay. But
Может
yeah.
разбудить других пассажиров, но все равно мне сильно страшно. Это шум.
Yeah, I would have my socks. I always have a sleeping eye mask, something like that, a pillow, a hydrating cream, because you know that when you're flying, every 2-3 hours, your skin just get dehydrated like horribly. So, and these little things that kind of keep me comfortable, so that I don't feel any sort of stress or anything like that from being in this enclosed space with a circulating air. So, yeah. Do you usually have anything with you to make your flight more comfortable?
Бутылка воды и все.
Which I guess you should buy at the airport because you're not allowed to bring any liquids.
Да, после металлоискателя нужно купить, воду.
So yeah, water. Stay hydrated, people. Stay hydrated.
Для меня летать это не стрессовое дело. Я люблю летать. Никогда не было стрессовых рейсов. Какие у тебя были стрессовые рейсы?
Oh my god, I have 3 major stories about the most stressful flights I've ever had. It's not that I was afraid or anything. The stress was caused by something else. And the first story I have is how I was bringing a dog from Russia to the US.
Собака большая или...
It's a Russian toy terrier, so about yay big, so...
И там была как переноска.
We call it a carrier. And so I had to, since it's a small dog, I was allowed to have it on board with me. So it didn't have to travel in the cargo compartment or anything like big dogs
это не было как собака для эмоциональной поддержки?
No, it's not an emotional support animal, nothing like that, not a service dog. Just, again...
В США это очень легко получить разрешение
in Russia, no.
для животных, для эмоциональной поддержки, да. И собака не проглотала наркотики.
No. What is with you and the question about drugs, Benjamin?
Есть там...
I'm not the only one who notices this, right?
Есть там как сериал, не сериал, это как просто программы. Nothing to Declare и Border Force. Я люблю эти ТВ-шоу. Я сильно рекомендую для улучшения английского языка смотреть на
To answer your question, that was a perfectly normal dog, Benjamin. But the tricky point is that the dog had never seen me until that very day. So we only met at the airport. You can imagine the stress it had. So did I. And now the thing is that, so we had the following route: Novosibirsk, Moscow, Moscow, New York City. So 4 hours and 11 hours. And dear Lord, the first 4 hours, the flight from Novosibirsk to Moscow was the most stressful one I've ever had in my entire life. Because first of all, before you have a dog with you on board, you have to check the size of the airplane and you have to check the size of a carrier. So I called Aeroflot 2 months before the flight. They told me they needed, like the size of the carrier and everything. So we bought a carrier even smaller, but the dog was still fitting perfectly well. Now imagine my reaction when I sat down to my window seat and the carrier did not fit under the seat in front of me. It did not. And I was terrified. I'm like, what did they make the dog travel in a cargo compartment? And we've all heard stories, horrible stories. I was panicking. So I called a flight attendant and I'm like, excuse me, miss, what can I do? She's like, just put it in your legs and don't move for 4 hours. I'm like, thank you very much. I will surely do so. So I did not. But I mean, it's much more than, the dog is much bigger. So I was flying like that, not moving for 4 hours. But again, the dog had never seen me. I could not. No, it's not allowed to take the dog out of the carrier on that flight. And so the dog had never seen me. The dog had never been in a carrier. The dog had never flown. So of course the dog was kind of, whining and crying. And the man who was sitting next to me on a window seat, he was complaining so much. He's like, Moreover, he asked the flight attendant to change my seat because he was annoyed with the dog.
Честно сказать, не хочется комментировать эту ситуацию.
I'm like, have you ever flown with babies? You don't tell people to put their babies in the cargo compartment, do you? Like, babies cry and so do dogs. She's going to calm down. And eventually she did after 40 minutes. But God, since I was not moving, I could not really eat. That was stressful.
Ночной рейс, это был дневный рейс.
It was a morning flight, yeah. It was a morning flight.
И в чем проблема? Это просто собака, это...
I do not know, but he was I think he was overreacting, but I was very stressed.
Малыши, они хуже, чем собаки.
Yeah, I mean, no offense to people with kids.
Визг собаки, это не как...
Yeah. And then I had a layover in Moscow, so several hours there. The dog was stressed. I could not give her food because, well, it's a flight and everything. So, and I was there with the carrier, with my bag, with a little suitcase, everything. But the next flight was, I think it was like a compensation to make up for the horrible flight before that. Because I had lovely people. There was a lovely lady who came to me with, honey, do you need any help? I can carry a carrier. I'm like, you're an angel sent from heaven. Thank you so much. And she helped me, she took the carrier. I was having the dog and, my little bag. And then on the flight from Moscow to New York City, that was the least stressful flight with her.
И карантина не была для собаки?
No, well, because the dog has all the documents.
Passport
all
для
the chips.
питомца, да.
The whole separate ticket for a dog. And everything. And fun fact, nobody even checked it in New York City. So the custom officer, I was like, yeah, hello, yeah. What the purpose of your visit? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to work here. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I have a dog. You would, expect all sort of reaction, like, where are the documents for the dog? You know what the reaction was? Oh, look at you, you're so cute. How did you fly? How was it? This voice that people immediately have when they start talking to a dog?
Это в отличие, в Австралии там очень строго следуют за животными.
2-week quarantine.
Джонни Депп, у него были тяжелые проблемы в связи с собакой. Он не предъявить может, да, он не предъявил собаку таможням, и его подали в суд, и он получил...
Oh, no, yeah. In Australia, if you're traveling to Australia, you will need to quarantine your dog for 2 weeks. So I think that was the most stressful flight I've ever had. But I also have 2 more stories, which are less stressful, but still, it was a bit of a stress because I was flying from Portland, Oregon to Washington, D.C. on a Christmas day.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
And I had a layover in Chicago, and the airport in Chicago, the O'Hare Airport, I think it's called, it's really big. It's really big. And so the thing is that my layover was only 2 hours. And so you can imagine my, again, reaction when I was on a plane. We've boarded the plane already in Portland, Oregon. And then they started to, spray it with this anti-freeze solution, like anti-icing solution. And I'm like, 40 minutes,
на
50
перроне,
minutes.
Да, так называется,
And I'm like, God, my next flight is like so soon and everything. I mean, if we add the time of flying. So when we landed in Chicago, I realized it's only 45 minutes till my flight. And you know that 40 minutes before the flight, they close the gate. So I went into the airport. So because in the US, you kind of enter the airport directly straight from the plane. And our gate was like K10. I needed to go to N15. So it's KLMN, the other side of the airport. I was running for my life, really. Like I had never run so much, even during my PE classes. I swear to God. So when I was like out of breath, I made it. And they're like, are you Miss Rudykh? I'm like, yes, that's me. What took you so long? We had you, we called for you on an announcement and everything. I'm like, I'm sorry, I was on a previous flight, but I made it. They're like, please come, board the plane. And I was coming, along the aisle and all the passengers were like, hating me. I'm like, I'm sorry, I was on another flight.
Чё пялитесь?
But I was so stressed that I wouldn't make it, but I made it. So, but that was like, whew, I was so relieved when I did, yeah. So these are my stories. But I hope that I will not have any more stressful flights, because, yeah, I enjoy when it's all smooth.
Пунктуальность — это очень важно.
Вы опоздали на 3,5 часа.
It did not depend on me in that case. Excuse you. It was not my fault, So, yeah, and let's hope that you stay away from any stressful flights in the future. You guys have noticed that Ben over here is a huge aviation lover, so I can't but ask, Benjamin, is there an airline or an airplane that you would really love to fly with?
Давайте начнем с авиакомпаниями. Так, есть, конечно, очень шикарные авиакомпании, например, Emirates, Etihad, Air France тоже.
What's the next one? Emirates?
Etihad, это в Абу-Даби.
Oh, okay.
Да, если честно, мне скучно, сильно дорого. Ничего, да, есть типичные классные блюда и есть кровать и все.
But, okay, you say it's too expensive, but if you had the money, you had unlimited, money.
Franklin, Grant, and Jackson.
Would you splash out on flying in the first class in Emirates?
Нет, я бы тратился на... Называется Air Courier. Ты знаешь, где Air Courier? Это из Северной Кореи. И это национальная авиакомпания Северной Кореи. И там у них флот очень старых советских самолетов. И это просто...
And you would like to fly on that?
Это как музей, это как история, очень интересно. И там есть как фильмы из Северной Кореи и интересные, странные
I think you should go, to some sort of smaller towns in Russia, because you can still fly on those eel and so on, the little planes, yeah.
Да.
Okay, so with the airline, you would like to fly with Emirates then?
Emirates, да, но это типично, это скучно, это золото, все.
I wouldn't mind flying on Emirates.
Да, но это там куча видео на YouTube.
Yeah, and I would love to be in one of them, If anyone wants to sponsor me on my first class flight on Emirates, feel free to.
Я посмотрел видео про...
Open for suggestions.
Ты знаешь Casey Neistat, известный
YouTuber. I have no idea who that is, but okay.
И Casey Neistat, он очень известный по YouTube. Он оплатил $20,000 за рейс на первом классе. И это...
Doing the math right now.
Офигеть было, конечно.
Damn.
И там было как собственный кабинет.
Это мое? Это ваше.
Yeah, you have a cabin, you have, what is it, a bed, a full-size bed or something like that.
You накрывают стол, это, да.
But on the other hand, I've seen the videos when people, they get served food on this real china, so glass, everything, but in the case of a turbulence, it all starts shattering and falling.
Да.
So, you know, it's potential hazard as well.
Да, если бы я летел на первом классе, я бы украл все тарелки и керамические изделия.
You sure you want to say that on camera, Benjamin? I wouldn't be so, you know,
Нет, я
careless.
люблю авиацию, я сильно хочу просто тарелка с, не знаю, Air Koryo или с Air France, Aeroflot.
I have a coaster with American Airlines because a friend of a friend, she's a pilot for American Airlines, and I remember she got me a coaster and everything. But that's, so when it comes to airlines, you'd like to fly on this North Korean airline?
Конечно. Ну скажи, у тебя подруга, она пилот, как она устроилась на эту профессию? Она не была в вооруженных силах?
No.
Не служила?
I do not know all the details, but she actually studied to be a pilot. She started in United. This is an airline in the US. And then she moved, she quit her previous job and she was hired by American Airlines. And yeah, so she's a pilot now, one of very few female pilots. So, and they actually have a stipend and a scholarship for girls and women who want to become pilots. So they try to, like, you know, kind of like advocate.
Да.
Absolutely, yes. So that there will be more female, you know, females and women in aviation. But yeah, but tell me, do you have an airplane? So some sort of specific airplane that you would like to fly once?
Там куча.
Oh, we shouldn't get him started. Okay, that was my mistake. Sorry.
Да, на старом 747, на старых.
Oh, the Boeing.
Да, на Boeing, ну, на старых. И там
Oh,
есть,
travel more around Russia,
больше
you'll get a
есть-
chance to.
есть как инженер, пилот и второй пилот. И на современных самолетах только два пилота.
Yeah, the pilot and the
Да, всего
co-pilot.
лишь,
Yeah.
да.
Okay.
Ну, да, советские самолеты Ту-154, это была бы моя мечта. К сожалению, больше не летают по России. Ну, я знаю, что возле аэропорта
Yeah, I was
Толмачева,
about to say, yeah, they have
стоит.
like a monument or something, which is like a real thing.
да,
Yeah,
и даже авиакомпания S7 пользовала
yeah,
этим самолетом.
actually flew on them.
Ой, да.
Well,
Шумно или нет?
back in the day, I
очень
didn't
шумно.
care about that, Benjamin. I was like, flying! You know.
Да, также авиакомпания Кубана. Они пользуют...
Cuban one.
Yeah, из
They
Кубы.
use the old Soviet ones.
Да, советский.
Still have a chance.
Il-96. Да, там
So,
есть
yeah.
рейс между, может быть, Буэнос-Айрес в Аргентине и Гаване. Да, там Il-96. Это была бы моя мечта. Вы знаете, что президент России, он летает на 96 или 86? Ну, 96, наверное.
You know, it's very funny how Benjamin's like, you know, knows everything about aviation and
У меня
planes.
все, ну, да, это мой
Well,
хобби,
okay.
да.
I mean, compared to like normal people, I like him. Don't worry. Like, you know, I'm not offending him. I'm not, right? So anywho, but you know, like, you know a thing, and then you ask me like, oh, what about your airline? And I'm like, you know, a typical vanilla girl. Emirates. What about an airplane? Airbus A380, because it's just the biggest. It's the biggest aviation.
летел на
Oh, you lucky
A380
bastard.
из Лондона
I've only seen
в Нью-Йорк. Да, очень удобно.
beautiful, and
Очень
they are-
красивые, да.
They are the biggest planes used for what is it? It's like civilian aviation. It's called. So yeah, you should have
Да,
seen
вместимость этих самолетов это очень большая.
Thousands.
Ну, может быть, в принципе, да, может быть.
Like 1000
Такое
or
количество.
something.
Ну, это
Well, I
8,
mean, think about it. Think about it.
800.
Normally, we would have in a normal plane 6 people in a row, let's say 20 rows, so which makes 160 people. Over there, they have more in terms of length, more in terms of width, and they are double deckers. Can I call them double
Да, да,
deckers?
двухъярусный
So yeah,
автобус,
like
да.
300.
Может быть,
Easily
не
1,000.
даблдекер, ну, может быть, почему
I
нет?
do
Да,
not
это
know
не
about the
технический
terms.
термин, ну, почему нет, может быть.
So yeah, so they're just beautiful. They're just beautiful. Well, and what about you? Do you guys have any sort of like an airline that you would like to fly with? And if you had unlimited money, would you splash out on flying in first class in Emirates? So again, let us know in the comments. Benjamin would really love to talk to you about this. So that was our episode about aviation and flights. Thank you for watching, and remember, we run on your feedback, so we would really appreciate if you leave some comments and let us know what you think about this episode. And please don't forget to hit up the thumbs up button and turn on your notifications so you never miss a single episode.
И надеемся, что вам не надо было использовать гигиенический пакет для этого видео. Ну, просто шучу. Обязательно посмотреть на наш сайт www.bigappleschool.com. Там есть куча интересных материалов, есть подкасты, статьи и больше видео. Тоже можно больше узнать про наши курсы. Так, все на сегодня. Это Benjamin.
And Katya. See you around.
See you around, guys.